Welcome back to the deep dive. We are just absolutely thrilled to have you with us today for part 8 in our series on the book Psycho Cybernetics.
It is so great to be back here.
Yeah, and if you have been following along with us so far, you already know we are on a mission to decode how the human mind truly operates under the hood.
Exactly. We are really getting into the mechanics of it all.
Right. And today, our focus is incredibly specific. We are uncovering the exact ingredients of a success-type personality and, more importantly, how you can actively acquire those traits for yourself.
Which is what everyone wants to know.
Naturally. But before we get into the actual formula, I want to start with a relatable problem. And honestly, it is a rather shocking physiological fact that we uncovered while exploring these concepts.
Oh, this is a fascinating point to start with.
Did you know that the human body literally breaks down when it stops striving for a goal?
It is, it's a sobering reality to confront, but the psychology absolutely backs it up.
It's wild to think about. We often see this happen with retirees, right?
We do. We see this phenomenon most clearly in retirees. Often, an individual will work their entire life, pushing incredibly hard toward that finish line of retirement, only to experience a rapid, severe decline in health shortly after they finally stop working.
Man, that really reorients how you have to look at the trajectory of a life.
It really does.
Because without a project or just, without something on a horizon to look forward to, we falsely conclude that life is no longer worthwhile.
Yes.
It's like the biological system just starts to shut itself down. But why does that happen? What is the actual mechanism at play there?
Well, the underlying reason is that humans are fundamentally designed as goal-striving mechanisms. It is baked right into our biology.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is that standing still doesn't just stall our progress. It actually brings on a whole host of physical symptoms.
Because we are built to move towards something.
Exactly. Think of it like a cybernetic system like the thermostat in your house, or a heat-seeking missile. A thermostat has a very specific goal, to keep the room at, say, 72 degrees.
Right.
It constantly measures the current temperature against that goal. If the room gets too cold, it turns on the heat. If it gets too hot, it turns it off. It's an automatic guidance system.
So we're essentially walking, breathing thermostats.
Precisely. We operate on feedback, constantly correcting our course to reach a specific target. When we don't have a target, that forward momentum ceases and the mechanism misfires.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this means that success isn't just a happy accident.
Not at all.
It is not something you stumble upon if you get lucky enough.
Right.
Success is an actual personality trait. It is a way of operating your internal guidance system.
And it's built on a very clear framework.
Yes, the acronym SUCCESS. SUCCESS. There are 7 distinct ingredients, but we're going to take our time today breaking down the most transformative letters of this acronym.
I think that's the best approach.
Let's start with understanding and courage, because the first S is sense of direction, which we just touched on. You need a target. But you win to win. Understanding this one requires a real perspective shift.
It really does, because to deal effectively with any problem, you must first have some understanding of its true nature. And here is a crucial paradigm shift. Nobody reacts to reality as it is.
That is such a huge concept to grasp.
It changes everything. We only ever react to our own mental images of reality. Confusion only arises when we add our own opinions to facts.
So the facts themselves aren't actually stressing us out.
No. The friction happens when we attach our own subjective insecurities to objective data points. You have to be willing to look at the mental picture you have painted and ask yourself, is this the actual fact, or is this just my opinion of the fact?
Wow. Doing that honestly requires the next letter in our acronym, which is courage.
Absolutely.
Being that honest with yourself is terrifying.
Yeah.
But the insights on courage here completely reframe things for me. We usually think of courage as some grand heroic trait. But here, courage is simply the willingness to act.
Courage is the engine of your goal-striving mechanism. And the most important thing to understand about your automatic guidance system is that it is completely useless when you are stalled.
It cannot steer a parked car.
Exactly. It cannot steer you if you aren't moving. Therefore, taking a step in the wrong direction is actually infinitely better than standing still.
I love that.
Because once you are moving, you are generating data. Your guidance system takes that negative feedback, realizes you are off course, and corrects your trajectory.
That completely reframes the fear of failure. It takes the sting right out of it.
Yeah.
You aren't ruining your life by making a bad choice. You're just giving your system the friction it needs to steer.
It is just a data collection process.
That brings us to the next 2 letters, compassion and esteem. I found this fascinating because we often think of success in this very cutthroat, highly individualistic way.
But the reality is the exact opposite.
Right. There is this surprising truth that our feelings about ourselves directly correspond to our feelings about other people.
It is a psychological mirroring effect.
Yes. Treating others as pawns, condemning them, or constantly judging them in your own mind is actually a surefire way to destroy your own self-esteem.
I completely agree. When you harbor hostility toward others, you are cultivating a mental environment of hostility. You cannot keep that poison from seeping into your own self-image.
It infects everything.
It does. Self-disesteem is a deadly pit, and it is a pit we dig entirely with our own hands. It is usually summarized by one specific phrase. It's no use, I can't do it.
The moment you adopt "I can't" as your baseline, you completely paralyze that internal mechanism.
You shut off the thermostat entirely.
So how do we climb out of that pit? How do we actively build the next letter in our acronym, which is self-confidence?
Well, confidence is built on the repeated experience of success.
Right, so I want to give you a highly practical action step for this right now. A specific micro habit you can start using today to build that self-confidence.
This is one of my favorite takeaways.
There is a brilliant modern analogy from these concepts. You can delete negative thoughts from your mind just as easily as dragging documents into the trash on a computer screen.
It requires deliberate mental management.
Exactly. So here is the micro habit. Whenever you make a mistake, and you will, because we just established you need courage to make them, Brown, I want you to learn from it, but then deliberately forget it.
Just let it go.
Just drag the emotional weight of it right into the trash. Think of it just like hitting the wrong key on a keyboard.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
When you make a typo, you simply retrace your steps, go back to the successful action, and only remember the successful attempts. You don't sit there staring at the typo, agonizing over it.
And the reason this is so effective goes back to your neural pathways. If you agonize over a mistake, you are actively firing and reinforcing the neural pathway of that failure. You're training your brain to repeat the typo.
Using errors purely as a navigational tool shifts everything. Which brings us to the most profound portion of the deep dive, the final S in our acronym, self-acceptance.
Yes, this is the foundation. Genuine happiness only comes when you stop straining to be someone else.
That goes against almost all the messaging we hear today.
It really does. But changing your self-image does not mean changing yourself. The self is what it always has been. You didn't create it. You simply realize it and make the most of it.
So you aren't trying to manufacture a completely new person.
Not at all. Our faults and our shortcomings belong to us, but they are not us. This is a vital separation. You may have made a mistake, but this absolutely does not mean that you are a mistake.
And then to ground this powerful message with a standout line from the author to anchor this entire discussion. Listen to this. Faith is not believing something in spite of evidence. It is the courage to do something regardless of the consequences.
That is just incredible.
It really hits hard.
It connects right back to the bigger picture. The very first step toward acquiring knowledge is recognizing where you are ignorant. And the first step toward becoming stronger is realizing you are weak.
You cannot deploy courage if you are hiding from your own reality.
Exactly.
As we start to wrap up today, I want you to really let that sink in. I want you to slow down and think about this. Do not turn your back on your own potential. Be yourself. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't hate yourself. And never refuse to recognize your true self, imperfections and all.
That is where your true power lies.
It really is. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. If you found value in this conversation, please like and subscribe to get notified about our next deep dive.
And as you head out today, I want to leave you with one last provocative thought to mull over long after this audio stops. If your internal automatic guidance system can only correct your course when you are actively moving, what is one wrong step you are willing to risk taking today just to get your engine running?